chilling in my hoopty, feel like S550, had the best time.
What's going on, family? You are here live, Simple Math, the podcast, episode 6, with your hosts, Jonathan Eric, and my co host, Ocho AOK. Today, we have another very special guest. This is a queen hailing from the streets of Bangor, Pennsylvania. I think I said that right. Now based out of Wilkes-Barre. This is a dear friend of mine. I met her maybe, I want to say almost maybe a year ago, I think. She's in recovery. She's cool. She could do a funny thing with her eyes. She's very spiritual. She's helped very dear friends of mine as well. She has recovered, I feel, how I identify it. Has a wonderful story, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. I've caught little bits and pieces of it, smoking cigarettes with her outside of Texas Roadhouse. But today we're gonna get the whole thing. So here we have Melinda. Welcome, Melinda.
Hi.
How are
I
you?
actually grew up in Nazareth, not Bangor, though.
That's Josh, right?
Yeah, that's Josh.
Yeah, I was close. I was close. Listen, I sometimes I get my facts fucked up, but I want to thank
close
you.
enough.
Yeah, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day off to jump on the show. Today's very special for you too because today is actually your 3-year celebration.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Congratulations. That is amazing. How do you feel first off?
I don't know, it's just crazy. Like, I didn't really think about it until I woke up this morning and I was just laying in bed.
Mhm.
And it kind of just like hit me because I was thinking about like where I was 3 years ago, which is absolutely nowhere close to how my life is now. And I'm not gonna lie, I got a little emotional.
Yeah. It's hard not to get emotional. I mean, from what I hear, your life was nothing short of a mess, 3 years ago and even before that.
Yeah, for a long time.
Congratulations. You should be proud of yourself. I mean, you help a lot of people. You help me. Um, you're somebody I confide to often, who I appreciate, and who I'm gonna miss when I move out to the West Coast. So we're gonna try to milk this one.
Yeah, well, now I have Skype, so it's easier.
Oh, holla at your boy. All right, so take me to the beginning, Melinda. Take me to the beginning. How did it all start? I want like life, not even just
Life.
the drugs. Like, yeah, what was it like coming out the womb?
All right. Well, my mom was a single parent.
Uh-huh.
My dad was never around. I actually didn't even meet him until I was like 25. But like in the beginning, it's crazy because I actually grew up on a farm on Eisenhower Road. My whole family lives there.
It was
Uh,
named after your family, Eisenhower Road.
yes. Yep.
Not to
They're-
break your anonymity, but I just
Yeah, it's
That's
fine.
crazy.
They're all a bunch of farmers and stuff. And I went from like, being around family and my mom all the time. And then my mom met somebody. And that's how we moved out to like, Bushkill and Nazareth area. I was probably I think I was about 7 when I moved, honestly. And that's kind of when like, I don't know, things kind of changed and stuff because the guy that she was seeing he drank pretty heavy, so she was drinking at the time too, and it was just like a really big change for me to go from like my whole family seeing my cousins every day, like all my aunts, uncles, grandparents, to just having my mom there.
yeah.
But I don't know, I just know that I always just felt different because of it, especially not having my dad there. Because all my other cousins, like their parents were, even if they weren't together, like they still had both of them. But I remember like even being in school when I was younger, um like I had friends and stuff. I got along with people. It was easy for me to move and meet people, probably because I was so young that at that time at 7, like kids don't really care.
Right.
um but it definitely was like a pretty huge change, because I started being by myself a lot too. um and then once I got older, like things got a little more rocky between my mom and that guy. And she did the best that she could. Like, she blames herself for it, but I honestly feel like I would have turned out like this regardless.
So you,
Um,
you were born with this thing of ours?
yeah, because like when I was young, like I never had, like even before we moved, like I never had a reason to feel different or left out, or you know what I mean? Like I always had so much love around me.
Yeah.
But like I always did feel different. And I know that, like, even being little around my cousins, like, I always felt like I have to do stuff to, like, for them to like me, even though they're family, and it's like, no matter what, they're gonna be there
Yeah.
thing. But, I don't know, I always felt that way. So I truly believe that it didn't really matter about those things. Um, but then as I got older, like, of course, like, I hung out with, I would call them, like, the outcast kids.
Yeah.
Like, I had friends, like, that were in the popular crowd, but I mostly got along with the outcast kids, because especially Nazareth, it's a very, how can I put it? It's more like middle and high class, I guess you would say. Um, and I feel like a lot of people there kind of just got given things. Like, they never had to work for it. And, like, my mom was a waitress, and, like, she gave me everything. Like, I was spoiled, you know what I mean? But, like, I wasn't driving around in, like, a Mercedes like these
Right.
kids.
You're an only child, right?
Yes. Yeah. I do have half brothers and sisters on my dad's side, but I only met the one in person when I was older.
Okay.
But, like, as far as my mom, like, I'm just an only child as far as. But yeah, so I hung out with, like, all the outcast kids, and a lot of them were older than me. Um, and then I think, like, around, I would say, like, 8th grade is when I really started to, I guess, tap into my alcoholism, you could say.
And how did it start?
It started off with, like, alcohol and weed, you know, typical things. Um, but, like, I remember, honestly, for a while I would hang out with people that smoked weed, and I wouldn't. I don't ask me why, but I didn't for a while, and then eventually one day I was just like, oh, you know what? Like, it's fine. But I don't know, I just felt like when I saw people drink or smoke, like, they looked happy. And, like, I just wanted to feel how everybody else looked to me. And when I would do those things, like, it was an escape. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't care about what people thought. Like, I didn't care what I looked like. All that anxiety and fear just went away. Because I always had, like, a lot of fear as a kid too. And, you know, of course, I used, like, relationships as that when I was younger too.
Would you consider yourself to be codependent?
Absolutely. Honestly, I don't think I've met an alcoholic who's not,
Good
to
point.
be honest.
It's a good point. You have a valid point, and yeah, I can vouch for that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But like, I remember, like, so I started really experimenting with more when I was, like, 15. You know, I hung out with a lot of older kids that were, like, a couple years older, so, like, they were doing a little more. And I remember, like, they wouldn't want to do it with me. So I would kind of, like, manipulate the situation. Like, well, if you don't try it with me, I'm just going to go try it with some random person. You know? So then it kind of, I guess, in a way, it was like that manipulation to, like, get what I want. And it started off with, like, I would say, like, pills, ecstasy, like, meth, coke.
How old were you when this started?
Like, 15. And, like, it's crazy because I think about it, and I feel like I should have known then it was an issue, because, like, I remember I would do it, and there was times where I wouldn't really eat a lot, and I'd take, like, some pills and pass out, and then my friends wouldn't want to do it with me, you know, because they're older, I'm younger. And so I realized that if you ate a banana right before you felt like you were going to pass out, you'd feel better.
Where'd you learn that from? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Honestly, one day, like, no, like, I just didn't feel good, and the only thing that was there, like, I felt like I was gonna pass out, was a banana, and I ate it, and it worked, and it, like, I didn't pass out. So I actually used to carry them on me and lock myself in the bathroom. I know it's funny, but, like, it's insane.
Yeah.
I feel like normal people, if they would do that stuff and that was the effect they had of passing out, they probably would have stopped. And my solution was like, well, I don't need to stop. I just need some potassium. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
you
mean?
know where I learned that one from? I learned that shit from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where the one kid was passing out. They got him a banana. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Yo, that would be your fucking solution to that problem, son.
I'm serious. I mean, I still eat them all the time, but now it's just because I thoroughly enjoy them. You know?
Yo, the gifts of sobriety, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here we are. You're 15 years old. You're diving deep into the hard drugs. You're fucking with pills. I know you had like a constant struggle. Like it went on for years, and you've been trying to get this thing. When was your first? Well, all right. You said you realized it was a problem then. When was the first time that like you got intervened about it, and somebody tried to like help you, or they tried sending you away in treatment or whatever?
Um, Honestly, I would say probably around like 17 or 18, because like the friends that I had, like they would mess around with stuff, but they never were like heavy with it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And when they found out I was doing like heroin, they didn't mess with that.
So
They
you were already fucking with heroin at 17?
Yeah, I started at like 16, I believe.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Intravenously?
Not at first. Like it started with, just snorting it. But I mean, I was still 16, but that's when I started like intravenous.
How Victor, you had a question?
yeah. I heard that you said that your friends didn't know at the time. So where was it at that point? Was it something that you was just doing alone, or where did you just find other people to do it with?
Yeah, it was kind of like I had like a whole nother group. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like the people I would just hang out with because they were doing the stuff that like I wanted to do, but like
Yeah.
my friends that like were always there for me and that I was really close with, like they absolutely were not having that. So it's kind of like one of those things I just hid, like, oh, like I'll just hang out with these people and do that and like just hide that fact and then go hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But like once they found out, like they definitely like they were not having it. Like they tried weaning me off of it. They tried like, you know, threatening to beat people up that I was doing it with, or, I'd wake up at like a friend's house and they'd break the tips off my needles. And I wouldn't want to say anything because then that I would have to admit that I was doing it, even though I obviously know that they knew. But there is definitely people when I was younger that tried to. It wasn't really like sending me away.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like they tried to like they were young too, you know?
So they were probably saying like, "Oh man, stop doing dope. Just smoke this
Yeah.
joint with us, man."
Yeah, like just drink this weed, just come to my house party or, come to my cabin parties. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Hang out with those kids or like just do this instead. And I mean, honestly, like once I found the drug of my choice, like it was kind of like a wrap, like nothing else compared to it.
Absolutely, I could agree. So
And
at this point, are you still living with your mother and your stepfather?
well, with my mom. My mom actually she left him when I was probably like I'd say like 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
She actually left. Um so I was just with my mom, but like it was definitely a very rocky relationship at the time.
Why so?
I mean, for one, like I was definitely an asshole when I was a teenager. I was like one of those teenagers like you can't tell me what to do, like you know what I mean? Like what are you gonna do? Send me away? Like and on top of it, like at the time, like, my mom did drink a little more than she probably should have.
Uh-huh.
So it was just like very rocky when it came to that. But like she absolutely did not know about this stuff. Like she knew I occasionally drank, but that was kind of it.
Mm-hmm. So she didn't know about the drug use until when?
Um, I know she knew that I smoked weed when I got older, like probably like 17, 18. Um, but like everything else, I'm pretty sure she didn't even know about till I was 19. And I was the one that told her.
Why? Why'd you tell her?
Honestly, like it's crazy when I think about it. Like I just remember one day I went home. It was like in the summer and I was just sitting on my steps and like it sat on like my steps, like you could look into the living room and like I just looked at my mom and she was just like watching TV on the couch and I just started crying. Like just bawling my eyes out. And it's not even like anything happened that day. And like, I just remember she looked at me and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Mom, like, I've been doing heroin." And like,
What did you want out of that conversation? You telling her? Were you reaching out at that time, or were you just like trying to like open up and that's it?
honestly, like, I feel like there's a part of me that like really, like, I really didn't want to do it anymore, but I definitely wasn't ready to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think it was one of those things because like I remember right after I said it, I was just like, shit, like, what did I just do?
Yeah, yeah. Because
So
now you
like,
can be held responsible.
yeah, and like when they talk about like those God moments and stuff, I definitely think that was one of them, even though I couldn't see it at the time, because honestly, like after I said it, I'm pretty sure I got into a fight with her and like flipped out. Um, and like I just remember thinking all day, like, why did I just do that? You know what I mean? Because like for a while, like I kept it a secret for the most part, unless like you really knew me, because I didn't really look like someone who would be doing that. You know what I mean? So it was kind of easier for me.
No, I mean even today, you're 28, right?
Yeah.
Even today, people just misunderstand you for being your regular stoner server,
Yeah.
right? Yo, Vic, it's funny. She works at Texas Roadhouse with me, and like we're outside talking. I remember one time she's like, "Yo, I always have tables complaining about that they think I'm high, like they think I'm smoking mad weed, like just because how she talks is just like this. Shoo! It's just like a monotone, like I'm real chill. Like there's just one emotion, and it's a smile, and it's like a I'm fucked up smile, and that's it.
Yeah, like I feel like I just have that look to me because people ask me all the time. Like before they knew I was in recovery, like even at my old job, like people would be like, "Are you stoned?" I'm like, "I'm in recovery." They're
Like,
like,
bro, you want to hit my dab pen?
"Yeah." I'm like, no. I just look like this. Like even when people take pictures at me at the Roadhouse, for some reason, I just look stoned.
It'd be like that. Sometimes they catch a bad angle with me and I look fucked up and I feel like the need to have to like caption on the picture like, yo, I promise you I'm not high. I just look like this.
Yeah.
But I have a question. So how do you like cuz I never did dope. It stopped for me at the pills. Thank God. How do you hide IV drug use from your parents?
um,
For those who don't know, cuz I know how. I just I
I
want
mean,
everybody to understand.
honestly, like I would stay out a lot. Like a lot of nights I'd stay at friends' houses and stuff. And my mom never really gave me an issue with that because I was being honest about where I was at,
Mhm.
just not honest about what I was doing. But so I like typically like I wouldn't be home that often. And like when I was like it was usually late at night, like she was sleeping. She had to get up super early in the morning to like, go to work and stuff. And then she was gone most of the day. By the time she got home, like I wasn't home. And long sleeve shirts and stuff, makeup.
Okay, makes sense.
Like
So,
honestly, for a while, she just thought that was smoking way too much weed.
were you still smoking weed when you were doing dope?
Yeah. I mean, at first it was all the time, but then it kind of gradually went down because, financially, like if I had to choose, like I wasn't gonna pick weed.
Yeah, I mean, who the fuck wants to once you find your favorite pill or drug, who the fuck wants to smoke weed?
Yeah.
Oh, like fuck that. I was just smoking weed just to be like socially accepted. Like I didn't even like. It was a point where I didn't even like weed anymore. Like I could go once without smoking weed. Like I don't give a fuck. You got
Yeah.
some perks though. I'll take
Yeah.
some perks. It's just crazy. So when did you? You've been on a number of treatment, correct? You've been arrested. You've been on a number of treatments. Tell
Yeah.
me how this whole when did it start going down?
Um, I'd probably say like the first time I went to treatment, I think I was about like 20, 21. And honestly, I went because I found out I was going to get in trouble.
Mhm.
Because now note, Nazareth is a very small area. So, like, you get royally screwed by the little stuff. So, I stole a phone at a party because the kid was being kind of a jerk at the time. So, I was just like, oh, well, you know what? Like, screw you. I'll just take your phone. Obviously, I pawned it.
Wait, that's what type of asshole you were? You didn't steal it for the money. You stole it because he was an asshole. Like usually when I stole shit, it was because of the money, not to be like I didn't. I wanted to be everything but an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, I was not how I was like now. Like, I was very cocky. I was very, angry, ignorant. Like, I really just didn't care. So, like, when someone would piss me off, like, I usually would not necessarily steal stuff, but, like, I definitely make it known. Um, and I would be an asshole. And a lot of times, like, those people definitely didn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I stole this phone. I found out I was getting in trouble, so I saw a bunch of my friends go to rehab and get out of trouble. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll just go to rehab because in my mind, like, I really truly believed that if I would just get off of it and be unsick, like, I'd stop doing it on top of it. So I'm like, oh, like, I'll go, then I'll stop doing drugs, and then I won't get in trouble. And I AMA'd after 2 weeks.
Your first treatment.
Yeah, didn't last very long. They tried to stop me. I called my mom. I lied. I said, like, the insurance got cut off, and, like, she had no idea. You know what I mean? So of course, she believed me. And I think I made it about, like, 6 hours out. And
Before you got high?
yeah,
Were like when you AMA, was your attempt to stay sober?
absolutely. I had every intention. I looked around. I was like, I'm not like these people. Like, I don't need to be here. Like, they're nuts. Like, this is not me. I saw people in there that are like, oh, I've been here 17 times. And I'm just looking like, no, like, I need to get out of here. Like, this is crazy. I was like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to stay sober. Like, I don't need you guys. I don't need this. Like, this is stupid.
What was your brilliant plan when you left?
It was literally just to leave and stay sober like that. Like, I had no plan beyond that, honestly. Yeah, that was it. And yeah, it didn't last very long. And I remember like I got high and I was just sitting there like at the gas station like, is this really like what I've been throwing away all these years for? Like, it wasn't even like, oh my God, this feels so good. It was like, this is like what I've been doing with my life. And like, I just started crying.
It's safe to say at this point it stopped being fun.
Yeah.
It went from getting high was fun to now it's a job.
Yeah. Honestly,
So-
I'd say about like 19, like it just stopped being fun.
So
There.
you AMA your first time. What happens after that? You get high and then what?
Pretty sure like, I don't know if I got arrested in between this time or not, because like there was a couple. I know I did go back to treatment like 6 months after that, and I went to a different treatment facility. I did stay the whole time this time. And I wasn't forced to be there. I'm pretty sure like I didn't get in trouble at that point yet. I think I got in trouble right after it. But and like I was in there, I stayed the full time. I did what I was told, like, and
Model
I
patient.
what?
You were the model patient.
Yeah. And talking to everybody else about their problems, but like I would open up about my problems, but not really when I think about it. Like, I would tell people certain things, but I wouldn't really like get into it. But in my mind, I was like, all right, like, I'm going to do this, stay the whole time, and then I'll get out and stay sober.
Yeah.
And I remember like the last 2 weeks just drug on, and like I couldn't wait till I got home. And I remember the night before I went home, like I just started crying there at the treatment center. And like they couldn't get me any more time. I actually asked for more time and they couldn't get me any more time. And I was just bawling my eyes out because I was so scared at this point. Because like I honestly did not want to get high anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was just so scared that I would.
That's the thing about this. Like, I mean, I could tell. How old were you when this conspired?
I was about like 21.
So I could tell a 21-year-old Melinda, if I was me now, like, yo, everything's gonna be all right when you get out of here if you do these things, and you still won't understand that.
Yeah, no.
That's how crazy this demon is. This, if you want to call it a disease, this demon, this lower power, this whatever. like clearly there's a solution. Hello, we're
Yeah.
right here. You know what I mean? Like we're living proof of this. But telling somebody that who's still in the mix, they're looking at you like, no, like
Yeah.
I can't buy into this because my life sucks that bad.
Yeah. And
That's
like honestly, I think like for the longest time too, I just didn't want to fully accept what I was.
Mm.
Like I did not want to accept the fact that even if I stayed off of stuff, like I couldn't eventually drink, I couldn't eventually smoke. And like I had friends and even family that like have done stuff like the same drug as me, and like they stayed off of it for a while. Now they drink once in a while and smoke, and like their lives are great.
It'd be like that. There really are. There's really people out there who could insanely poke themselves with needles, get off of it, and just like drink and smoke socially.
Yeah, like they just get off of it and they're like, all right, I'm fine.
It's like that. That's what people don't understand too. I think a lot of people they struggle because of that, and they end up, unfortunately, they pass, because they're trying to like be quote unquote normal, and it's like instead of like trying to be that quote unquote normal, there's a solution, and like you can live a wonderful life. Like I don't lack anything,
Yeah.
All my body parts still work, and I have fun, and I still do the same things I was doing when I was getting high, minus the bad things for the most part. I'm not perfect, but um, so I know you did some time, right?
Yeah, a couple different times. I've
Stop
been,
me if I'm jumping ahead, but take me there because I know you still got a little tail.
yeah, I have 2.5 years left on state parole.
And parole, son, you a gangster.
Yeah, I actually didn't go to the state though. I didn't go to the state, but I got state parole.
Okay.
Not really necessarily sure how that happens, but I would take it over the time that I was supposed to do.
Which was
Um, Basically, I was looking at 3 to 5 years upstate.
what, if you don't mind me asking.
What?
I said it for what, if you don't mind me asking.
I robbed this lady's house in New Jersey for a lot of valued jewelry and stuff. And basically, what happened was I went over states to pawn stuff because I knew necessarily they wouldn't really look because over the cross lines. And the thing that got me caught was that I told on myself. I didn't for a while. I was like, no, I don't know what these people are talking about. Like I lied, of course. And then like the whole reason why I even told on myself, honestly, I'd like to say it's because I was a really good person and I felt really bad. But honestly, at that point in time, like it was more or less like no treatment centers would take me. I tried like methadone clinics. I tried Suboxone clinics. I tried getting accepted even into like mental hospitals and like nowhere was taking me. And basically like I just sat there and like the only thing was left to do was like either actually kill myself and like make sure that it happened or just go to jail for a really long time. Like those were my options because I just couldn't stop. Like I wanted to, but like I just couldn't. Like when they talk about that jumping off point, like you can't live with or without the drugs, like that's where I was at. Like I still had them and I couldn't live without them, but like I couldn't live anymore with them too. So like I was just stuck there for a really long time.
So you told on yourself, and then what happened?
I told myself, I told my mom because she would have to drive me there. I was like, listen, mom, like I'm going to jail, like you're gonna have to take me there. I sat down with the cop, like I told him the truth, and like I remember he asked me like why I was telling him. Because he was like, I know you're not stupid, like I seen your record. I know this isn't the first time like you've been in this situation. And I was like, honestly, like I just need help because like I can't take it anymore. Like I will literally make sure that I am not on this earth in the next 3 days. And like this, if this is the only thing that stops that, like then this is what's gonna happen. Like and I told him I was like, honestly, I'd rather be in a jail cell right now because like I've laughed more in jail than I did on the outside at this point.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sad.
I mean, but if I'm doing the math correctly on the timeline here, you didn't stay sober after that.
No, unfortunately not. So I did go to jail. It was in New Jersey, and they tried to give me ROR. I
What is
like,
RR? Is that like our ARD program?
no, it's like you're just released like without bail. It's like an unsecured bail, so you don't have to put anything down.
Uh-huh.
Like no one has to pay it. I denied that because I didn't want to get out. Um, and then we went back again.
You wanted to stay in jail that bad.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
are
That's a
crazy.
new one. That's a
Yo, for real. That is nuts.
Honestly, any other time, like I tried everything I could to get out. I'm like, all right, like what can I say? What moves can I have people make for me so I can get out of here? Like whatever has to happen, like to get out. And this time I was like, I just want to stay in here because like I knew like I just like my past showed me that whether it was a treatment center, a mental facility, a jail, like every time I got out, I just fell flat to my face, even with the best intentions. Like I just couldn't get it together, honestly.
You're a better person than I am because I got arrested once that I actually had to go to jail. Like they put me like in holding and like in a county prison, and I called Vic, and Vic like made me sweat for like 6 hours when he was only like 30 minutes away. And I couldn't take it. I was like, I wasn't even like in Gen Pop yet. I was like in my
Yeah.
own little cell, like with the little fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwich they gave you. And this nigga made me sit there for like 6 hours because he was drunk. He couldn't come pick me up. And I was pissed. Yeah, I was like, fuck that, son.
Can we divert and just say like it was state patty? Do you know about Penn State at all?
Not really.
Oh, it was Penn State has this little thing called State Patties Day, and it's like a week. It's a State Patties weekend, and it's like everybody goes up, and it's the craziest time. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
got locked up at 10 a.m. I think it was.
Oh yeah, so you were coming for a while.
Yeah. It was, yeah, and I was really drunk, and I couldn't get to him already. We was drunk at 10 a.m. already, so it was like
They partied all day and they're like, all right, let's go get JP now. All right, fucking.
Yeah, look, I guess it's time.
Yo, I could picture the conversation too, because I would have the same conversation. You want to go pick him up now? Yeah, fuck it, let's go. All right, cool. Fucking shit. All right, so how much time did you do?
That time I only did 45 days. That was the least amount of time that I've ever done as far as like other times that I went in. But I got out.
Done like a year plus, right?
I mean, not consecutively.
Okay.
It's like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, like another 6 months, 4 months, like
little baby steps.
Yeah.
So were the previous ones just for like similar stuff, like just for?
Yeah, it was most of them were for like theft, from like stealing from people, whether it was people in my family, people that I knew. There was like a couple of them that was like just like stupid stuff, more like possession and everything. I did get a lot of my charges got dropped down, thank God. This is like my only felony is the last one. I don't know how. Like honestly, like when people are like, "Oh, that sucks that you have a felony," like I'm just grateful that I have one. Because most of them probably should have been.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. You were blessed.
Yeah.
Grace. So tell me about the last time. What happened? Like the last time treatment, like what made the last time right before you entered this stage of your new life? Like what the fuck happened?
Well, like, okay, so I got out of jail that time. I did go back to the rooms because I was in and out of the rooms for years. I did go back to the rooms. I actually got a sponsor for once in my life. Made like, got the call list and actually called people off of it. Not just got the list and ran like I did.
You're in Wilkes-Barre at this point, right?
No, this is right before Wilkes-Barre, right before treatment.
So you started going to a 12-step fellowship, 12-step program before you went to treatment your last time?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
other times I did too, but this time I started to actually do more than I ever have. I started seeing someone that was sober. I didn't stay sober for very long, but I kept going back to the rooms. I kept like, I would do the stuff. I honestly would do the stuff that they asked me, like go before the meeting, stay late, make coffee, Like those are the things that were being asked of me. And like I was doing it, but honestly at that time I was in a different fellowship. And like when they would say like anybody with a burning desire, raise your hand, I'd be like, yeah, I'm Melinda. I still wanna kill myself and I still wanna get high. Like that went on every day. Like
Did
until
anybody like child? Did anybody help you?
yeah, like there was definitely people that were there, like they would talk to me about it and everything, but I just like I wasn't being completely honest, like I said before. You know what I mean? Like as far as my feelings, really opening up to people, but there were people in my life that were like consistent with it, whether I was high or not, because there would be times where they'd pick me up. And then between like being around all those people, like there was a few of them that stuck around. A lot of them were just kind of like, oh yeah, that's Melinda, like just let her go. You know what I mean? And then there was other people that like I could call, like whether I was sober or not, and they'd still pick me up, they'd still talk to me, they'd still hang out with me. And honestly, like it was a really shitty situation because like I wanted to feel how they felt. I just didn't know how to get there. And then someone really close to me ended up passing away. That kind of like, I mean, like I've had people pass away that I was close to, but like this person, it was literally like, you know, we were talking every day, like we were going to the meetings together. At one point, like they wanted to commit suicide, and me and the person I was seeing at the time, like went there, talked them out of it, you know, and we used to hang out like every day for a while, and he ended up passing away. And I found out like off the same stuff I was doing. And like I was still here. He wasn't. He has kids and he was married. And like I wasn't. You know what I mean? And like when I went to that funeral, like I honestly was sober that day. Don't ask me how. I think that was one of those God things. And like I just remember like looking around and like really seeing like what happened with the family. You know what I mean? Like everyone there and like his kids and like his mom and like his siblings and it I just remember like sitting there thinking like, you know, like I don't understand like why I'm here and like this person's not. And like I didn't get sober right away when that happened because it did happen in December and I got sober in March. But that was one of the things that definitely pushed me to like keep staying in the rooms as much as like I hated being in those meetings to watch everyone be so goddamn happy. And I was just like dying on the inside and they'd come in and be like, oh hey, and like joke around. I'm just sitting there like dying. And the last thing that happened to me was I stole the home group money. And
Oh
obviously
my God.
I know it's terrible. Listen, they did get the money back the next day.
Yeah.
Like I did sit down and have to make those amends in two separate business meetings. Most awkward amends I've ever had to make in my life.
I mean, yo, not for nothing. Like in a 12-step fellowship, whether you know it's based on drugs or it's alcohol or cocaine or whatever, like this shit comes with the territory. Like I've never dealt with it. I've never seen it happen. Like in my home group, I've heard of people working in treatment, like me working in treatment, like my patients telling me they do things like this. But yo, it comes with the territory, bro. Like it's to be expected.
Yeah, well, they made me like the GSR, and I was supposed to, you know, obviously go to like intergroup that weekend. So I had the money.
Wait, you're doing intergroup stuff like couple weeks, couple months over?
I only had like a couple days.
And they, well, who the fuck are these people, yo? Who's in charge? Like,
Like,
yo, we need it. Like, I need to sit down with these people and talk to them. Like, yo, there's ways you go about these things, and there's certain responsibilities. Like, they should have put you. You know what they should have had you done? Put out the steps. Put out the pieces of paper on the table, and that's it. No fucking money. No going to get commitments. Like, we're not sending her to no jails yet. You know what I'm saying? Because she might stay there.
yeah, well, I honestly just think that they were like, they really just thought that it would help.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm teasing.
So,
I get it though.
you know, so of course, like as soon as I had that, like that happened. And the next day, my sponsor started blowing up my phone,
Mhm.
and I already knew. And of course, like I lied about it to everyone and the person I was seeing. My sponsor showed up at the house I was at. I disappeared. I just left. Like, I booked it because I could not deal with confrontation or any of that, because I was basically lying about everything. And I ended up getting like 12 stepped in a Rite Aid parking lot by my sponsor and his one friend. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, like, these people, like, you guys just suck. Like, why are you bothering me? Like, just let me be. Like, just leave me alone.
Right.
And, he actually, like, helps get people into treatment centers. The person that was my sponsor at the time. And, like, he just kept saying, like, like, why don't you try it one more time? And, like, I remember I was just like, no, like, it hurts worse. Like, it hurts worse to, like, try to get my shit together and then lose everything, rather than if I just didn't even try and didn't have anything to lose to begin with. And they talked to me for probably like an hour or two in this parking lot. And I just, like, I was such an asshole. Like, I feel so bad. And then I went home. I was like all mad, like, how dare these people try to tell me what to do with my life? Like, just all that stupid stuff. But like a couple hours goes by and like I'm sitting home alone, and like I just broke down. And I ended up calling him, and I was like, listen, like, I will try this one more time, and that's it. Like, after that, like, whether it's the drugs or myself, like, I'll make sure that, like, I don't have to live another day, but I'll try one more time. So I ended up going to, like, the drug and alcohol down in that county. They sent me away, which she wasn't going to because she's seen me a lot. She told me that if I was going to go away, I had to go to long-term treatment or she wasn't sending me.
Okay.
And at that point, like, I was just crying. I was like, listen, I don't care where it is. I don't care how long I have to go for. Like, I'll just do whatever at this point. Like, I had no more of, like, ideas of how I was going to get my life together or how I could manage it or maintain it. You know what I mean? I was over with it. I'm like, whatever, like, wherever you have to send me, like, that's fine. And, like, that's kind of, like, how I ended up going to treatment.
How long was this long-term treatment?
I believe I was there for, it was, like, almost 2 months. It was, like, a couple days shy of 2 months.
That's not that long.
No, it's not. Like,
That's a baby.
I think she was more saying it just to see if I was, like, super serious about it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to, like, this really random place and I never heard of, like, Conowigo in Pottsville, like, middle of nowhere. I was told that I was going to an all-girls facility, and it wasn't. So I don't know if that's, yeah, like, I don't know if that's one of the things she said to trick me, because she asked me, like, well, if I send you, I'm sending you to an all-girls one. I'm like, that's fine. And I get there, and it wasn't. And it was, like, basically just, like, if you took a rehab and you slapped it on the main street of, like, Wilkes-Barre, that's where it was.
Yeah, Pottsville's it's not that great of a town.
Yeah.
It's a little shitty town of Schuylkill Haven. So what happened in treatment that made it different when you came out of treatment? And you're gonna answer this question. I gotta take a potty break. You can keep on talking. I'm listening. The bathroom's right there.
Okay. So, like, I was in there, and, like, it was a small rehab, so it was definitely a little bit different because there wasn't as many people. And I would definitely say that the counselor I had, I'm very grateful for to this day, because she helped me out a lot. I feel like she did more than what she had to. And when I went in there, for one, I didn't tell anyone I was going. Like, only, like, my cousin and one other person knew. Like, I didn't even tell my mom or anything. Because usually when I would go to rehab, I'd make it a scene, like, oh, look at me, like, I'm going to rehab to get my stuff together, like, praise me, you know what I mean? This time I kind of just, like, ghosted on everyone and went, because I knew, like, I just had to disconnect from everybody for a couple weeks to really, like, be with myself without any distractions. And I remember, like, I was only gonna do the long-term treatment, like, 2 months and leave, but then as like the clock started like going and like my time was less, like I remember randomly like thinking when I was sitting in bed, like I should probably go to a halfway house. And I almost had like an argument in my head because I was like, okay, Melinda, like, why did you even think that? Like, we're not doing that. Like, no, we're just going to do this treatment center and we're going to leave. And that thought would not go away.
What, of you not going into a halfway house?
Yeah, like it just kept popping up.
That was legit the devil in your head. Like, yo, who's talking right now?
Yeah.
No, we going home. I
Yeah.
got an idea. I know how we're gonna do. We're gonna go home. No halfway house.
That's really how it was. And like I was like, it would be like, oh, go to a halfway house. And it's like, no, like screw that. Like I'm not going there. But like the thought of going would not go away. And like I wasn't court ordered or anything. So finally I remember going to my counselor's office and like I kind of like started crying. And she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I need to go to a halfway house. And she's like, why are you crying? I was like, because I really don't want to, but I know I probably should.
Because this voice in my head is telling me not to go.
Yeah,
At that point is when I pull my boss aside and be like, I think we need to send her to a psych ward. There's voices in her head.
But that's really how it's like sometimes. Like,
Yeah,
so like I tell her that, she's like, all right. So we'll like, she sat down with me. She's like, why don't you, because I told her, I was like, I really don't want to go, but I think I should. She's like, so do you want to go or you don't want to go? And I was like, well, I don't want to go, but I probably should go. And like, I just kept answering like that. Mm-hmm. So she's like, well, why don't you like think about it for a day and come back? And if you're really serious about it, like, we'll get you in. Mm-hmm. So like the next day I wasn't even going to say anything. I was like, oh, she probably forgot. Like, we just won't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I see her, she goes, Melinda, do you think about that? I was like, oh shit, like I really got to make an answer for this, like, you know? Uh-huh. And so I decided to go to one. We called a bunch of places and like some of them I turned down because, I don't know, some of them were, I don't want to say they're not good, you know what I mean? Because I feel like for different people, there's different journeys, but like I didn't want to go to one that like a lot of people were on maintenance with.
Maintenance, explain to the people who don't know what maintenance is.
So like Suboxone maintenance, methadone maintenance, I feel like they're definitely a better alternative than getting high. I definitely don't knock anyone that does it because it definitely keeps you alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But me personally, like it just never worked for me. Like I'd be on it and then it just, like I would just start doing what I wanted to because like I never worked on me, so it just didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. So then they called this place the Clemmar House.
Clemmar.
Yeah. Well, the girls is actually in Dallas.
Okay.
The guys one is in Edwardsville. So we called. I actually got denied my first time.
Why?
To go there. Because they asked me if I ever had seizures before, and like I've had them getting high. Like I'm assuming because of the drugs, because I never had them when I wasn't.
Yeah.
So at first they denied me because of that. So then my counselor actually called back until they would answer and like explain that to them. And I don't know what she said or whatever, but they changed their minds. Like, so I got into the halfway house. So I went to the halfway house after treatment. Never been to a halfway house before in my life. So I really didn't.
How was that adjustment?
It was a lot different. I mean, it was still it was like being in treatment still in a way, but you did have more freedom. Like you could work. They took you to outside meetings. They had people come in. You were with a lot more people. There is like 20 something girls there, I think. So it definitely was a bigger adjustment. I did get a job right away and I got a sponsor right away, even though I didn't really want to. You
started serving right away?
Yeah, I was actually working down the street from like the halfway house. It was like this little pizza shop I was working at. Mm-hmm. And like I was honest with them because like they needed an address and a cell phone and you're not allowed to have cell phones there. So I'm like, well, yeah, I'm like, there's this house, but it's really hard to get a hold of. And he just kind of gave me this look. So I'm like, well, I should probably be honest about this. I'm like, listen, like I work in the halfway house or I live in the halfway house. I don't know how long I'm going to be there. Like, I'm assuming 3 months. I just really need a job. And like, I guess the guy used to hire people there and then he stopped for a while and he actually gave me a chance. So that was pretty cool.
You paved the way. You paved the way for the rest of the Clemar girls after you.
Yeah, so like I got the job there. I was working. I was kind of like in between of fellowships. Because I still had these old ideas about where I should belong because of what I do. But when I came out here, I noticed that for whatever reason, like there was just a lot of young people in AA, which
Yeah.
they kind of drew me there because my sponsor at the time in the past was younger than me. But I started
Wilkes-Barre's
working.
jumping.
Yeah, like it's crazy out of all
It's
places.
lit with recovery.
Yeah, you would never expect it.
Yeah, it's
But
not
I-
Hazelton. Hazelton, I got sober with older people, which I'm not mad at. I'm glad it worked out for me.
Yeah,
Had I been in Wilkes-Barre, who knows what kind of path I would have went down. You know, I probably would have got distracted because, as you know, you work with me. I get distracted very easily.
yeah.
And this is 2.5 years sober. Like my life is together, and like a squirrel walks by, and I'm like chasing after the squirrel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
You
but
can have, you can have like a dead serious conversation with you, and as soon as like that walks by, it's just like bye, Jonathan. You know, it's out there somewhere, and you're like, all right, we'll just talk about this later. Like,
yeah, it's one of my defects. So I interviewed the first girl last week. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to get this like while we're in this middle, like we're right in the perfect setting in the story. I interviewed the first girl last week, Chelsea. Great story, by the way. And one of the questions that I always have that I'm like so interested in because I know it's such a like deterrent is being a young girl. You're not ugly. I'm not saying you're pretty, but you're not ugly. um, and you're going into this fellowship and you're in a halfway house. Scumbags prey on you and those girls. How'd you wiggle around that to get to where you're at today?
well, like in the beginning, I was still with that person that was sober,
Uh-huh.
but I would use the whole like, well, I'm looking for a support group, so if you want to be a part of that, like that's cool. But if you're looking for something else, like just don't even bother.
Was that your Facebook bio at the time or something?
No, it was just kind of like what I said
Yeah.
to people. I kind of just like stayed away. I don't know. People I feel like a lot of people think I'm intimidating, so
Yeah,
like
you don't have a welcoming face. I'm not gonna lie
yeah,
to you.
I feel like I just have a resting face. So if I'm not smiling, like I just look like I'm a bitch.
Yeah, you're a really nice person, but like if you don't know Melinda, like you don't have like a welcome, like hey, come over here and say hello.
Yeah.
All hugs.
So like I feel like I really didn't have to deal with that until I was like I would say like probably like 5 or 6 months sober until people like started to get to know me more. But I
Yeah,
mean, it definitely happens, and like I see it all the time. It's happened to me. Like I feel like for me it was probably easier because I was in and out for so long that like I kind
you
of
knew
already knew.
already. Yeah, you weren't a new kid on the block. Like you knew how this shit
Yeah,
went. You couldn't get played.
yeah, like I was a newcomer as far as like my time, but like I've been in and out of the room since like 18, so it's like I'm not that stupid. Like
Yeah,
just keep it moving, you know?
good for you.
Plus,
Good.
I'm like really brutally honest, and I feel like people take that the wrong way. But when it came to situations like that, I wouldn't feel bad for it.
You
Like,
are brutally honest, and I
yeah,
appreciate that. It's
I would
definitely-
be brutally honest, and I feel like because of that, most guys would be like, "Yeah, no."
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. So here you are. You're in a halfway house. Did you get a sponsor right away?
Yeah,
You're working steps
after
away.
say like after the first week, I got a sponsor. She would meet with me, like we started doing book work, and we got into the steps. Like she used to take me out, and like it'd just be me and her for like a couple hours, and like it was like a consistent thing. Like she was really reliable, and she really, I guess in the way she really got through to me because there was like a lot of things that I was still like I was open to hearing things, but I was just so set in my ways.
How so?
Like as far as like I felt like personally like I didn't belong in AA because I didn't really drink, because I feel like it was more because like the labels. You know what I mean? Like like now if I go and speak somewhere, like of course like I introduce myself as an alcoholic because I am representing Alcoholics Anonymous, but at the same time I tell them like I also do have problems with drugs and alcohol, but I have a spiritual malady. Like, and saying drugs or alcohol, like it's just a label. It really means nothing. Because like at the end of the day, like we all feel the same feelings. We got in the chair. It might have been a different journey, but it's the same chair at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I I never done cocaine in my life, but if I go to a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, I'll identify as a cocaine addict and I'll tell my story and I'll use the word cocaine, but like, you know, I'm just substituting my pill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People make a little a mountain out of a molehill. So it stops people a lot of the time too. So you're in the halfway house and all that. Did you still have urges when you came out of treatment?
I mean, yeah, like it definitely wasn't. It didn't just go away.
Yeah.
Like there would be times I'd think about it, and like I was serving, so like I would get cash and I'd be walking because like we couldn't have a car there, so
That's
I'd be
huge.
walking, and like of course there was times where I'd be like, oh, I have this much money, like I'm sure I could just like walk into Wilkes-Barre and find something,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm kind of glad that like I was in the halfway house because obviously like you can drink or get high wherever you are if you really want to.
Mm-hmm.
But like there was that stability there where like you had a curfew, like you had to be there certain times. You were only allowed out certain times. So it's like I didn't have a lot of free time to just like go and do what I wanted with. Like if I had free time, I was like stuck there kind of thing. Because I definitely wasn't at the point yet, like if you would have dropped me off somewhere, that I would have been able to say no.
When did that point happen for you? When did you finally meet freedom?
Um, Honestly, the day I got kicked out of Clemar.
You got kicked out?
Yeah.
Yo, you are a royal pain in the ass, bro. Yo, what happened? I didn't know this shit.
Yeah, well, two of my friends had cell phones,
Oh
and
God.
we're not allowed to have cell phones there. And I got kicked out because I didn't tell on them. And there was a selfie of me and the other two girls on one of the phones. We were riding the bus.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting kicked out, which was kind of crazy.
Damn, they shouldn't have kicked you out for not snitching. I mean, I'm like all for sobriety and being a good person, but you don't got to go around telling on everybody.
It was more or less like I can honestly say like they weren't getting high. Like they did have a sponsor. They were doing a lot more than a lot of people in there because like yeah, you're told to do these things, but you didn't have to.
Hmm.
Like you didn't have to get a sponsor. You didn't have to go to these meetings. Like you
Yeah.
just had to be there
Right.
basically. And I just felt like it wasn't really my place. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't a staff member. I wasn't like
Queen halfway house.
yeah, like I wasn't trying to like if they were getting high, it would have been a different story because that's like other people's lives involved. Like, you know what I mean? It was a cell phone, and like I got it. It's the rules. I understand. Um, but like I just didn't feel like it was my place,
Yeah.
honestly. They also had legal issues involved, and like I wasn't trying to get somebody thrown in jail because they had a cell phone.
Yeah, no, fuck
You know
that.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I support you. I'm right
so
there with you. So you
yeah.
get kicked out, what happens?
So I get kicked out. I was still seeing that kid that was sober at the time. Um, they kick me out. I'm waiting for him. He finally shows up. Realize that he's not sober anymore. As soon as I see him,
Yeah.
I had no other way to like get back home. And honestly, the whole time I was there, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till these couple months are over. Like, I just want to go back home. But like, I'm going to do this because I never finished anything. So since I got kicked out, I'm like, there's a part of me, like, I was really upset, but I'm like, oh my God, at least I get to go home, you know? And so this person picks me up. Like, they're obviously not sober. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this is how this is going. Um, I remember getting in their car and like I had cash on me because it's like I didn't need to pay for to be there. So like all the money I made, like I was saving. Um, and I remember like as the signs were going like away from Wilkes-Barre and like towards Scranton, because at the time like I was living in the Poconos, I just started crying because I was like, this is not what I want. Like I thought I wanted to go home, but like this is not what I want. And like I realized like I'm kind of screwed at that point. And the first time that I felt that freedom was that night because I remember thinking like, you know what, screw this. Like they probably have stuff on them in the car. Like I don't want to feel like this. I have money, like, and at the time I was super resentful that I got kicked out. Now I'm grateful, but at that time I was so resentful. And I remember thinking like, screw it, like I'll just get high. Like this is why I don't ever try. And then there's a second thought that popped in my head that never happened to me before. And it was kind of like, you don't want to get high, you just don't want to feel these feelings.
Yeah.
Last time you got high, you still felt the same feelings because like it did not go away.
Did you believe in God at this point?
Yeah. I wouldn't say like it was more or less like I believed.
In something.
Yeah, like I believed something was out there and like I had a connection, but like my prayers were more like, whatever, whoever you are, like just direct me to like what you want me to do. You know what I mean? But it was crazy because one of the people that always stood by my side when I was, getting high on and off before I went to the treatment center and got sober, I went to Walmart to go turn on my phone. And because I had like Straight Talk, so I had to buy the card because I didn't have anyone's number. And this person, like, she's younger than me, but she's usually like home or in bed by like 9 o'clock. Like, she doesn't go out late. She's a very old soul in a young body. And it was pretty late by the time we got back there. And I got out of like this person's car and I looked over and I saw this lady walk into her car from Walmart. I literally ran up to her and I was just like, listen, you have to help me. Like, I got kicked out. This person's high right now. Like, I cannot stay with him because I know as much as I don't want to get high, like, I will end up high no matter what I want. And like, it's crazy that I ran into her there because she's never out that late. She had no idea we were going there. I had no idea she was going to go there. And I remember her first words to me. She goes, well, are you high? And I was like, no. I know I've said this a lot of times, but this time, like, I'm actually not. I just really need your help. And she ended up like, I literally just got out of the car and left other people I was with and went with her.
So on your way back home, you're like in Walmart putting minutes on your phone. You see this lady, you get your shit out the car and just leave, and that's it.
Well, like I left like the other person that was the person I was in a relationship with at the time, and like I told them, I was like, listen, like I can't, like I cannot. Wasn't too happy about it because I can honestly say that like when I was messing up all those times when we were together, like he wasn't, like he was still sober. I don't know how, but he didn't relapse until I was in treatment. And like as much as like I wanted to save that person at the time because I felt like, I did feel guilty for leaving because of all the times like that person was there for me when they were sober and I wasn't, but like I just knew that like I would get high before I could help him.
And you have to take care of you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I gotta commend you on that. It takes a lot of balls, And if you did believe in, or you believed in something at the time, but for anybody who's watching or listening out there, like if you don't believe in a higher power, it don't have to be God, just something out there that's running the show. Like that's it right there.
Yeah.
Like that whole scenario, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you go with this lady, then what happens?
So she brings me to another friend's house that's sober. We hang out there and like I'm trying to decide of like what I want to do. Because at this time, like I'm on state parole. I can't just be couch surfing. I knew just going back home, like wasn't really an option anymore.
Right.
Because it was either like be with my family and like, or be with this person, and like this person's getting high, and like with my family, like there were so many times that I went back there because I thought, like in my mind, I thought I was doing the right thing because that's what they wanted. And
Yeah.
I felt so guilty about all the stuff I put them through that like I would just be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I'll just do what you want me to do because that will make it better. You know, and every time I did that, like it just never ended up okay. Like I
Right.
was just super depressed and miserable. Um, and it had nothing to do with them, like it was just me. And so I started calling people in the morning looking for sober houses. Again, not something I wanted to do. It was kind of like my only option to, if I actually wanted to continue this journey sober. And I knew that. So I remember I called this one girl who runs sober houses now. She was running one for a guy at the time who just opened a girl's female house in Wilkes-Barre, but they didn't have any beds open. So I'm calling her freaking out because like everyone's I'm calling saying that they don't have beds open. I even called Scranton and like no one said they had beds. So I'm sitting there like freaking out on the phone with her. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I literally cannot stay here. Like, I do not trust myself. Like, as much as I want to be sober, I know if I stay here, like I won't be. So she actually made a phone call and got a extra bed moved into a sober house for me.
Oh shit.
And like this person only knew me while I was at the Clemar house. So it's not
Yeah.
even like, and like I remember thinking that like this person doesn't even know me. Like I'm a chronic relapser. Like they just moved in a whole bed in this house. Like it was just crazy because that's when I started seeing like what people that are working a program will actually do for other people. Like
Yeah.
it's not just like it could be just taking someone like a ride to a meeting, but it's not just that either because that's what I thought it was. You know what I mean? Like they'll just take you to a meeting if they have time.
That's the beautiful thing about this fellowship, what you just said right there, because it goes way deeper than that. Like I know I haven't really got into that point of I'm still very selfish. You know, I work a lot. Obviously, you know, I work like 80 hours a week. I work 2 jobs. I actually just quit my morning job today, FYI. But I got another morning job right away. Like I didn't do it like on some
Yeah.
like so I got another more like I'm so like indulged in that shit. And it's like one of those things that when you were talking about that situation, I'm thinking to myself like, damn, like I need that. I want that. I want to be able to be available to people like that. I'm not that available. Like you call me, I'll talk to you. Like, yeah, we could talk all day, but like to get me in person, sometimes it's hard. Like I'm not gonna be working this morning job until Monday. So tomorrow I'm gonna go to a meeting in the morning. Friday I'll be able to. Saturday, Sunday I have a family member who's in treatment right now, so I'm gonna go visit her. But like once I start working these 2 jobs again, there it goes. And my meetings cut down to like 1, 2 days a week. And I've only had 2 people who I've had the opportunity to help, like to take through the steps, and they both relapsed. And you know, they're just not ready yet. So it's like one of those things that I I envy, and it's like it's true, like that you need because there's people out there who need more, who need a little more push than I did necessarily. I feel very blessed and grateful. I don't take it for granted because you don't have to tell me much. Like when I was ready, like there wasn't much to tell me because it was like autopilot, and I just did these things. Not that I just knew
Yeah.
to do these things, but I was open. You're fucking hard headed, you know. So like they had like you people had to like push you, and like it's only because of that now that you have this like you have a wonderful life right now.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it is.
I could see why you're the way you are with other people too. Like you have patience. Like the people you help, you know,
Like,
they're my friends and I love them dearly, but you know, they're pains in the asses, yo.
yeah, you need a lot of patience.
That's I can see where you get it from. So you man, you get into this house and like
Yeah.
you're still going through the steps. How was making amends for you? How was that ninth step for you? Because I know you did a lot of shit, especially family members. And I wanted to touch on to it into this, but I'm gonna let you decide if you want to touch into that. But like how were those amends? Just
They were
in general,
definitely, some of them were easier than others.
obviously.
Um, Like, of course, like with my mom, like it was more emotional, but it wasn't that hard. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like, I'm her only child. That's my mom. Like, you know what I mean? But like other ones were hard. Um, I actually waited, I believe like 18 months for the one with my uncle and my aunt. That was probably the hardest one I had to do out of my whole family.
Why? Because they were like always that supporting those supporting factors that you always let down.
It was more or less like I stole from them,
Uh huh.
you know, and like I was really close to like my uncle when I was a kid and everything, and um when I stole from them, like it hurt them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And on top of that, like there was a lot of other issues going on, like family wise, that I'm not gonna really get into with that because it's not
Yeah.
the place. But
Yeah.
like there's a lot of other things going on too. So like for I would say like for years, like we didn't even talk. Um like if we were at family events, like nothing was said to each other, or it was like I wouldn't go because they were going.
And
Um
this is sober, right?
yeah, at first it was. I remember the first time they invited me to their house with 4th of July.
Mhm.
Um, I was past a year sober, so I was probably like a year and a couple months. Um, that was the first time that I got invited to their house, and like we started like, because I didn't want to like right away as soon as they started talking to me, just make these amends.
Yeah.
Um, I felt like it'd be better off if I built a relationship with people. That's why like some people I knew I could do it like right after my ninth, and other people I know like it was gonna take some time.
Yeah.
Um, so like with them, like it did take some time, and eventually, like I remember, like after we started communicating more, and like they let me in their house, and like I would show up to things. Like that's how I started. Like I started showing up to family events, whether it was something big, something small, or just going there on a Sunday. Like, and I sat down with them, and it was the most difficult to get out. Like I was literally like shaking, crying before I could even say anything at the point in time.
Sure. I mean, the build up to that, like that's what a lot of people don't realize. Making amends isn't just saying I'm sorry. There's
Yeah.
an action to it. There's a lot of action. I can't making amends to my son. My son was 2.5 when I finally got sober, so I can't like at this point. I'm not gonna be able to like verbally say sorry and he understand. Probably he just turned 5 last Saturday. So I probably got like another what, like 7 years or some
Yeah.
shit, like before we have this conversation. So
Yeah.
it's like a living thing. Like I just got to, I just have to be there. With my grandmother too. Like my grandmother doesn't fully understand this thing.
Yeah.
Um, so like with her, it's a living thing. You know, it's like a action thing. I'm there doing things that I don't want to do that I didn't do before. Like I'm in a rush to get the fuck out the house because I'm late for work. And she's like, Jonathan, I need a case of water. I'm like, fuck this shit. All right, I'm gonna fucking go, man. Like, here's your fucking case of water. Like, little things like she's complaining about money, and I'm here like, oh God, like I see you're asking without asking now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, here, take the fucking money, okay? Like, Jesus Christ, I'm trying here, bro. It's a living thing. You have to act upon these things.
Yeah.
How did
It,
that make you feel after when you finally got those words out of your mouth with your aunt and uncle?
it was like this huge like weight, you know what I mean? Because like of course like when I finally like went through the steps and like I realized that like I can't get a day together, let alone a couple months.
Mhm.
Um, of course, the first thing I wanted to do was like go and apologize to everyone.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because like honestly, like like I just carry that, but like I know if I do that, like it's just for selfish reasons. Like if I make an amends because I want to do it, as far as like because of how it makes me feel,
Yep.
I know it's probably not the best time. Like that's being selfish and it's not an amends. So it's like I had to wait and
Yeah.
it sucked.
That's
It did
that's
suck.
that's something that people have to realize too. I did that like 2-3 weeks sober to a person who like probably deserved the most amends. And after like I made these fake ass amends, like when I barely got my life together, I haven't spoken to this person since then. It's been 2.5 years, so like that's what I get. Like trying to be mad selfish about it. Like it goes to show.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Um,
It was definitely good because like at this point, like with everyone in my family, like I like there's no problems. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like we all get together and like we laugh. There's no one that I avoid, like, oh shit, like I'm gonna go to the living room because this person's in the kitchen now. Like it's
now
not
you're definitely an accountable person now.
yeah.
Um, Another question I wanted to ask too, if I'm not getting too personal. I know in your recovery, you got into a relationship with somebody, not early in your sobriety, but early in their sobriety. I know how it worked because I've asked you these questions. I'm always intrigued about the impossible. When people make the impossible possible, I'm always intrigued on how they make these things happen because they're the same things that I tell people who I'm trying to help or just in general
Do.
in early recovery, bro, don't do this. Yes, I know she did it, but trust me, don't
Do
do
it.
it. Like this shit does not. Don't ask me. Don't ask her how it worked, bro. Like just don't do it. How'd you make it work?
Um Honestly, like it's crazy because like on paper, like it should absolutely not work.
Nope.
Um I had like I think like 13, 14 months. He had 30 days.
You
When
still seeing shadow people too, right?
no, basically, yeah, might as well be.
He's
Still
the
weighing
for people who
90
don't
pounds.
understand what seeing shadow people is. He was abusing methamphetamines.
Yes.
So you start seeing things that aren't real, like shadow people.
Yeah, he weighed like a whole 90 pounds. But honestly, like I can say that even though he had 30 days sober, which still sounds horrible no matter how I put it, um, I did take things like super slow. And it was kind of crazy because we actually went to the same school at one point. We went to CIT together, which is like of a technical school.
Right.
Graduated the same year, never knew each other. We know a lot of the same people, somehow never ran into each other, ran into each other in Wilkes-Barre in recovery. Um, just a lot of things that like don't add up that are too like coincidental.
Right.
Um, but I can honestly say like when it first happened, I realized I had feelings. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh my god, Melinda, like what are you doing? Like, are you sick? Like, do you need to go over book work again? Because like I used to judge the people that did that, honestly.
Yep.
Like I'd be like, I'd see it and I'd be like, oh my God, like you need so much help. Like just leave that person alone. Like let them live. Like, you know what I mean? I'd tell people not to do it. And then like this happened and like the one part of me was telling me to like stay away. You know what I mean? And of course there was people telling me to do that too. Like of course there was people saying like you're sick, like you like stop it. Like you know what I mean? But like I just couldn't. Like I don't know what it was. I feel like that's one of those things where it's like God puts you someone in your life and like you don't really have a choice about it. Because if you looked at my ideals list, like none of that was on there. You know what I mean? Like,
That's that piece of paper you told me to write, right?
yeah, the ideals list is part of like
Yeah.
4 step. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like basically for people that don't know, it's like you write down if you could have the perfect person, like all the qualities you want in them and stuff. And you know, it was crazy though because there were certain things as far as time wise, like on there, it definitely did not say like, oh, 30 days, that's okay. Like it was more or less somebody like had years or had their shit together.
Yeah.
But like everything else did match up, like personality wise, like how they treat others, like all that other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's my boy, bro. He's a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
That's my man's right there. I'm glad if anybody, it's him.
Yeah. It's crazy because it definitely shouldn't have worked out. And I remember people used to say that all the time, like, well, it's probably so crazy that it's gonna work. But like I see it all the time where people do it and it doesn't work.
No, yeah, it ends up fucking terrible and like things blow up and you have
Yeah.
fires in the middle of Wilkes-Barre and shit.
Yeah, like just like terrible things. And I don't know, it's kind of like we're like the same person. It's just like I'm a female version and he's a guy version. Like
Yeah, y'all two are. It's funny. It's mad weird. Like y'all
yeah,
both look like y'all smoke mad weed.
Yeah. Listen, when we like go out to eat and stuff, like sometimes I swear people think that we're stoned.
Yeah.
What we laugh at and stuff, and like we're just retarded. Like,
Nah, man, it's funny. Shout out to him, man. Like, yo, real quick, I'm gonna segue. Yo, I was having car troubles, and she told me that her boyfriend fixes cars. He works on cars and shit. And this man came to my work, picked up my car. I gave him the money for the materials and the materials only, you know, expecting to give him money for the labor after. He went, figured out what was wrong with my car. He gave me brakes again. I didn't have brakes in my car. Like, and I'm driving like from Hazleton to Wilkes-Barre with my child at times,
with
you know, with no brakes. Like, you know, I'm just so used to like having piece of shit cars and hoopties, and just like I'm a product of my environment that I just like I'm blind to that shit. Like if I can make my car stop with enough force, I got brakes. Don't tell me I don't got brakes. My brakes just ain't that good. But he made it work, and he got my shit up and running. You know, my brakes working the way they're supposed to work. And this man didn't charge me anything, and he worked on my car for like several hours, and he would not take my money. Like it was crazy. I mean, I fucking made Melinda take my money to buy a steak or two, but like that's the extent of like my money that he took. Better man than I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
honestly, like we just got super lucky, I think. Like I think it was just one of those things where like God is like, well, I don't really care what you two think, because like neither one of us were in that great of a position at the time either, honestly.
Right.
Like I wanted nothing to do with any guy, any relationship. Like I was finally content with being by myself. That
Yeah.
I even want, like if somebody would slide in my DM, I was just like, nope, nope, nope. Like I'm fine. And like he just got out of like a long relationship and stuff, so it's just like crazy because neither one of us were looking for it, and it just kind of like happened.
Listen, true love does exist, just not for this guy. But it really is a beautiful thing. Today you're 3 years sober. Once again, congratulations. Your story's crazy. Today, I'm speaking for you right now. You're accountable. You're somebody. I work with you, so I see you often. I see you more than I see my son, I think, to be honest. I see you like 4 times a week, and I see my son not 4 times a week, unfortunately, because I work so much. Um, and you're somebody who's accountable. You're somebody that people could depend on. You're like a pillar at work now, and you're not even one of the originals, like I like to call it. Like there's the original set of roadies, like
Yeah.
me and whatever, and you're not an original. You came like a year into the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like almost a year in it, and like you're like employee of the month, like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm fucking King Roadie, and I've never been employee of the month. Rob Bradshaw or whoever the fuck is making these things. If you're watching this shit, I'm leaving like in 2-3 weeks. I want to be employee of the month. I don't give a fuck. Like shit, man. Like just put my name on the shit. Like I don't really have to be the employee of the month. Just like put it up there and tell the real employee of the month in their ear, like whisper to them, like, no, you're really the front of the house employee of the month. But like we're just gonna give it to Jonathan. Like we need to give him the like. I need some self-esteem, confidence. I need more. Okay,
We'll put a poster and we'll just stick it to the screen.
something, man. Like, but yeah, you and not only are you a good employee, but like you're of maximum service to your fellows and others, to yourself and others. Like you're out there. You help people. Um, you help somebody who's dear to me, like a close friend of ours. I see you at meetings, and you know you go to meetings even when you don't want to. We speak about it all the time. Like it's like I don't want to go to meetings, but I just go because I know it works, and there's people out there who need the help.
Yeah.
That's something to admire. What else? You know, you don't judge too hard. You've seen me walk into meetings like a minute before they end to watch somebody celebrate, and you know, you didn't drill me like other people did. I thank you for that. You know,
Yeah.
like I felt like
I just picked on you about it.
yeah, just a little bit, but you know, you have a lot to be proud of, and I think this is a good interview. I got a lot out of it. You're a success story. The success rate for your like, if we were like putting bets on it, like if they put bets on you getting sober, the motherfuckers cashed out now because you know the return on that was extreme. The miracles do happen, and we have one right in front of us. Victor, do you have anything?
I just thought it was a really great story. I didn't speak much just because I was listening so much.
Yeah.
Kind of taking the wheel. I just thought it was really interesting. I agree with everything he said. And isn't this like the second week in a row we have like two people who are in recovery that aren't supposed to be together?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Chelsea.
Actually
Chelsea was the same way. Episode 5, she was in her. She was actually already in the relationship, getting high with the person, and got sober, like not simultaneously, but around the same time. And they're still together, and they have like they made a human. You know, they procreated. They made a human, and they went into the holy matrimony of the holy sacrament of matrimony. So yeah.
I don't know if we can continue to say that to tell people not to do it because it's looking pretty good.
Yo, listen, I'm still going. I'm sticking with my guns, yo. I'm gonna stay old school, and I'm telling people, no, you cannot. Don't
I
do
feel
it.
like it's more or less motives than your intention.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's hard to feel out people's motives and intentions. And I think I see that what it is with me when I tell people that is that I know my motives. You know,
Gotcha.
I know I'm not perfect, and I know my defects, and I know how I am. So I kind of like I throw my fears on them, you know. And this is part of it's part of this process. It's part of being an infallible human being.
Um, can I ask one question? I always ask this right before I end off. So you get a phone call with 18, 19-year-old you right now. What do you tell that person?
Honestly, I wouldn't even know because I don't think that she'd listen.
Yo,
Honestly, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could call and I could say all these things, but like honestly, I didn't even believe it till it happened.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's a hard question.
I think it is a hard question, but I think you gave the most honest and the most accurate answer, though. Like she wouldn't even listen.
Yeah,
Crazy.
she would have hung up that phone real quick.
She would have banged it on you. Click goodbye. Fuck this. Like
Yeah, because
this.
if you would have told me then, let alone even 3 years ago, that I've been sober and like have the life that I do and the people in it, like all the things, I wouldn't have believed it. I honestly wouldn't have.
It's the
Like some
best.
days I still sit there and think, like, is this really, like, is this real?
Mhm. Absolutely. I get in the same mood sometimes too. Sometimes I wake up and I like get off my knees and I go about my day and I'm like, yo, I'm really not about to like hit my boys up and be like, yo, you want to smoke some weed? Like I'm not even gonna do that. Like I'm not gonna come home from work and drink a beer. Like it fucking blows my mind sometimes. Like I don't fucking get it, son. I don't get it. You know what I mean? It's weird. You know, real quick, I'm gonna end off with this. You know, I want to thank you. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Um, you were nervous like for 2 weeks leading up to this shit, and like Vic said, like you really you ran this interview for me. I think we've been on for like, and I want to say like an hour and 30 minutes, and I think I spoke maybe 10 minutes of this thing. You know, you handle business. I think you got a future in this thing. Yo, but for the people listening out there, for the people watching, like this is what recovery is. It's not just about being sober, it's about recovering from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That full 180 that Melinda did, like not for nothing, you're so fucking sober and recovered right now. Like I could look at you and like anybody could look at you and they wouldn't think that you were doing these things. You don't come off like that person. Like
Yeah.
whatever. They might think you smoke a little bit of weed, like a little harmless shit like that. But like, yo, the shit you were doing, shooting dope, you're stealing from people, you're fucking like in these like wild ass scenarios, you're doing county time, you're on state parole, like you can't see it. That's how fucking sober you are. And that's how strong God is. That's how infinite like his power is. Because you
You
can
ever seen those YouTube videos? I don't know if you guys ever seen it where they like they put like 5 people in a room.
Mhm.
They put this other person in this other person has to decide like who went to jail and who did it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick you out of the lineup.
Facts. We're not picking Melinda, yo, and she's probably like the biggest criminal right now.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's a
I do
blessing.
that all the time though when I tell them I'm in recovery. They're like, from weed? That's usually what they say. From weed? I'm like, no, like they literally don't believe it.
Mhm.
And honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I was so nervous just for the fact of, like, you know, I started a whole new life here. And, like, granted, people know that I'm in recovery. Obviously, my family knows. But, like, there's so much stigma about it, about, like, what kind of person an addict or an alcoholic is, or, like, what they look like because of all the labels that, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm kind of nervous. You know, like, at first I was like, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? Like, do I want people to know? But, like, the way that I felt about it is, like, maybe it could help break the stigma, you know what I mean, about this, and, like, show people that, like, there's people that you would never expect it to be from,
Absolutely.
and they're not terrible people, like we are at the time, you know what I mean? But, like, there's hope for everyone, and, like, anybody can be in the shoes that I'm in today. Like, it just takes a lot to get there.
Absolutely. I mean, not that everybody has to be as public as I am about it, or like do the show when I ask them. I do appreciate you doing it. But yeah, people do need to see people like you and me, who did live these lives before, who are now in recovery, who are now recovered, who worked the 12 steps, who, you know, believe in this big book and lived through it, and, you know, found a higher power, who, you know, we put all of our dependence on, and we rely upon him, her, whatever it is out there that you believe in, what I believe in, to live this life I live today. Because, like, you know what I mean, I ain't no average Joe on the block, but, you know, I'm only able to do these things I'm doing now because of God, because I'm sober. You're only able to do these things that you're doing now because you're sober. You just got promoted to a trainer, I think, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations, welcome.
A trainer, lead server.
Welcome. I'm a trainer too, but I think they just gave me the title, so I just was shut up. Like, I got this name tag. I trained like 2 people, and that's it.
Yeah.
Those are the empty peanut buckets.
Yeah, like, you see, that's how perfect I'm not. Like, yo, ask Melinda, when she got to check my side work, she's always double checking. Like, yo, Jonathan, are you sure you did everything? And I clearly know I didn't do anything. Like, I know I missed some things that she's gonna catch, but just like, 'cause I'm a dickhead, so I'll just be like, yeah. If she walks over and looks, she's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, I just asked you, did you do everything? And you didn't do everything again.
But his scapegoat, like, what he tries to use as his scapegoat, will be like, well, I'm an alcoholic. What do you expect? And I'll look at him and I'm like, well, I'm an alcoholic. So what did you expect? That I wasn't going to take it?
Yeah, it would be like that. I gotta make it happen any way I can, you know.
Real
But
quick,
let's-
on like what she said earlier about like how this hopefully this breaks the stigma, and shows different people, shows that what people actually look like that are in recovery. I want you guys to know that this actually really does help people. A few weeks ago, I had some a kid. I don't even speak much, and I guess he found the podcast through our YouTube channel. For those that know, I make music, so I guess the first social media channel they found on the YouTube was mine. And he reached out to me, and he started asking me all these questions. I ended up having to direct them to Jonathan. But you're reaching, you know, even if it's one person, you're reaching one 17-year-old, one 19-year-old, one 25-year-old, and it could potentially be changing their life. And actually, we have some of our we have some good friends who tell us like, yo, we listen to this religiously, you know what I'm saying, because it helps them get through their day, even if it inspires them to be one day sober, you know what I mean, so that they can continually, you know, eventually be completely sober. So for everybody who's listening, thank you for listening, and you know, it's okay to be going through what you're going through. Just know that there's a way out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. God has led me into this. God has forced me into this because I fucking stalled on this, but I'm glad he did, because it's like the one thing I'm doing right now that I'm not trying to like gain anything off, like monetarily, you know. I'm doing it like strictly for, like, you know, it helps people, and I enjoy this. I look forward to Wednesdays, and I look forward to breaking night Wednesday nights, editing these videos and talking to these people and getting to know y'all on an even deeper scale. It really is wonderful, and it's not possible without the guests. And Melinda, you were that today. I thank you. I appreciate you. You did great. And yeah, I have one more question. You ready?
Yeah.
What's 1 + 1?
2.
And that's simple math. Let's get it. Thank you, Melinda. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.
Tell the hubby I said what's up. I love that man.
I will.
All right, bye.
Bye.